My daughter Angie, 28F, was married to a man named Alton, 30M, for a few years. They're separated now, and if you ask me, it's for the best. From the beginning, I never liked the guy. Alton was soft. He worked as a chef, and while I'll admit he was talented in the kitchen, that wasn't enough for me. He went to culinary school and made just enough to scrape by, and I never saw him as someone who could lead a family. He didn't have that fire, that ambition. He was polite, respectful, and hardworking, but in my book, he was a pushover. Angie met him at a work convention where he was working behind the scenes catering the event, and that already told me everything I needed to know. But she loved him, so I kept my mouth shut, reluctantly. They dated for about 3 years, and when the wedding came, I didn't object outright, but I wasn't going to sit quietly either. So yes, I invited her ex, Jared. I didn't tell anyone, not even my wife, definitely not Alton. He didn't know Jared was someone Angie used to date. Jared showed up, sat in the back, just observing. My daughter noticed, of course, but she brushed it off and still said, "I do." Years passed, and things looked fine on the outside. But I knew better. My wife, my sons, even some extended relatives. Slowly, carefully, we started poking holes. Nothing major, just little questions. Don't you wish you traveled more? Wouldn't it be nice to live in a bigger place? What if he got a better job, something more stable? Eventually, Angie started expressing frustration. Money was tight, and Alton's job, while respectable in her eyes, wasn't cutting it. They argued, and when that argument came to a head, I nudged things a little. I won't lie, I coordinated with a few people to make sure it became a real conversation, the kind that doesn't just blow over. Alton walked out that night, to cool off, to go to work, whatever. And I made one call, Jared. He stopped by as a concerned friend. He said the right things, listened, made her laugh, made her remember. I didn't tell him what to do, but I gave him the opportunity, and he took it. Now, Alton's gone. Jared's around more often. Nothing official yet, but I can see where it's going. And honestly, I feel like I saved her. Alton was never going to give her the life she deserves. Jared has the job, the background, the values. He fits our family. I don't regret anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want to know, does that make me the bad guy? Or am I the only one who had the guts to do what no one else would? Update 1, the plan is working. Angie and Alton are on the brink. Well, things are finally moving in the direction I hoped they would. It's been a few weeks since everything started unraveling, and now with Jared's help, Angie and Alton's marriage is hanging by a thread. It all escalated after Alton confronted Angie about Jared. Apparently, he finally figured out Jared isn't just some random friend who suddenly started showing up. Alton had no idea Jared was her ex, not even during the wedding when they shook hands. That's right, he actually shook hands with the guy who used to date his wife. Jared even congratulated him, smiled and played the part perfectly. And Alton? Clueless. Someone must have let it slip. I'm not sure who. Maybe one of our mutual friends. Maybe a relative at a gathering. But whoever did it, I owe them a drink because it worked in my favor. Alton's now suspicious, frustrated, and feeling cornered. He got upset with Angie about how often Jared has been around lately, how conveniently available he is. Angie called me crying after the confrontation, saying Alton accused her of being emotionally attached to Jared and being disrespectful to their marriage. I did what any father would do. I comforted her. I told her it's completely normal to have friends, and that if Alton's feeling threatened, maybe it's because he's insecure. I told her this is what controlling behavior looks like, that she needs to ask herself if she wants to live like this forever. She listened. Behind the scenes, I had another talk with Jared. He was honest with me, said he never stopped having feelings for Angie, and if there's even the slightest chance, he would marry her in a heartbeat. I told him the door might be opening soon, and if he's serious, it's time we make that final push. We've got a plan. Nothing aggressive, just more presence, more comfort, more coincidences, more chances for Angie to compare what she has with what she could have. And with the cracks already showing, I don't think it'll take much longer. Say what you will, but I'm doing this because I believe Angie deserves better. I don't hate Alton. I just never believed he was enough. Jared, he's the future I've always wanted for my daughter. Update 2. It's over, Alton's gone, and Jared's time has come. It took a few more months, but it's finally done. Angie and Alton are in the middle of a divorce. After everything, I'll admit, it wasn't as quick as I had hoped. Right after Alton's confrontation over Jared, Angie convinced him to try marriage counseling. She wanted to fight for it, to see if what they had was still worth saving. I didn't push back. I let her go through the motions because I knew it wouldn't last. During counseling, she even brought up Jared, asking if Alton was really being fair. And what did Alton do? He backed down, told her she had every right to have friends. That's the problem with him. Too passive, too trusting. The final blow came during a family dinner that we hosted. I made sure Jared sat right beside Angie. Subtle, but close enough to spark something. And sure enough, I watched Alton fume silently through the meal. He barely touched his food. The tension was thick, and I could tell Angie was trying to ignore it. Eventually, after dinner, they had a quiet argument that turned heated quickly. Jared tried to step in and de-escalate things, but that just made it worse. Alton lashed out and accused both of them of manipulating Angie, trying to control her, and begged her to see what was really going on. For a second, I thought we might have pushed too far. Maybe she'd pull away from both of them. But then Angie snapped back. She defended Jared, said he was only trying to help, that he was her friend, and Alton needed to stop being paranoid. Then came the moment everything unraveled. Things escalated. No one's quite sure how, but it happened fast. I remember Alton grabbing Angie's wrist, telling her they were leaving. Angie yanked away hard. Jared stood up. Words were exchanged, voices raised, and suddenly, fists. Jared and Alton were on the ground, fighting. Angie screamed and jumped in, but not to Alton. She ran straight to Jared, checking on him, helping him up. Alton saw it. He stood up slowly, face bruised and bloody, looked at both of them and said, "So that's how it is." Angie tried to follow him out, probably to explain, but I stepped in and said what he needed to hear. "You're pathetic for not trusting your wife." That was the end of it. Angie spent the night in her childhood room, crying. My wife and I comforted her, told her maybe this was all a sign, maybe it's for the best. And quietly, everyone in the family felt it too. Relief. Even happiness. She stayed with us for a few days, resting, recovering. Then she said she wanted to go back home to sort things out. We didn't stop her. We knew it was over. My son checked the house before she got back. Alton was there, with people, packing. Half the house was already empty. Later that day, Angie called. She was crying. Alton had left her the divorce papers and his wedding ring. "It's over. We did it. Now it's time for Jared to take his rightful place in our family. He's already been by Angie's side since everything went down. And if there's any justice in the world, she'll see that the right man was standing beside her the whole time." I'll update when things become official, but it's only a matter of time. Update 3, 2 years later. A new chapter begins, without Alton. It's been 2 years since everything fell apart, or rather since everything fell into place. The divorce was finalized cleanly. Angie and Alton split everything evenly, no drama in the paperwork. In fact, if I'm being honest, Alton could have taken more, but he didn't. He walked away quietly, no fight, just signed the papers and left. In my eyes, that's not just kindness, that's naivety. The guy was always too nice for his own good, never knew when to push back or stand his ground. That's probably why it was so easy to pull this off in the first place. During the divorce process, Jared stepped up. He was there for Angie the entire time, supportive, present, ready. They didn't waste time, started dating almost immediately, and it was clear Jared saw this as his second chance. He was proud of it too. At one point, he showed up at the courthouse, practically trying to rub it in Alton's face, but it didn't work. Alton barely reacted. Angie actually asked Jared to back off a little to avoid dragging the process out longer than it needed to be. Jared agreed, told her he understood and was just excited to finally be with her. A year after the divorce was finalized, Jared and Angie got married in a small but beautiful ceremony. This time, no objections, no drama, no Alton. Just family, friends, and a future we all supported. Now they're expecting their first child together, our first grandchild. My wife and I couldn't be happier. Jared is doing well, providing, and already preparing for fatherhood like a natural. He fits with us in every way Alton never did. As for Alton, he's gone, moved to another city, working in some restaurant. We don't know exactly where, don't care either. Let him be someone else's problem. He probably knows now what happened, what we did. Maybe it all finally clicked. But honestly, I don't care. He was never right for her. We saw it from the beginning. And now she's with the man she was always meant to be with. And our family finally feels complete. Update 4. The truth slipped, and Angie collapsed. I don't even know how to start this. Everything we built, everything we thought we were protecting is crumbling. It happened at Angie and Jared's home. No one else was there, just the two of them. Jared called us in a panic. He said Angie had collapsed during an argument and that she was being rushed to the hospital. He sounded shaken, scared, but didn't say much else. My wife and I rushed to meet them at the ER, not knowing what had happened. By the time we got there, things were bad. Angie was unconscious. Doctors were monitoring both her and the baby. We were terrified. My wife couldn't stop crying. Later, it was my son, her brother, who finally confronted Jared and demanded the truth. Jared, already looking defeated, admitted that they'd gotten into a huge fight, that Angie had found out he'd been cheating on her. And then he slipped. He said that during the fight, when things got heated and Angie was shouting at him, he snapped. And in that moment of frustration, he blurted it out. That we, all of us, had ruined her marriage with Alton. That we'd been behind it. That we pushed Alton out so Jared could step in. That we manipulated her, steered her into believing Alton wasn't enough, and he had played his part all too well. He said she froze when he said it, didn't yell, didn't scream, just stared at him. And then she collapsed. Everything came crashing down in that one moment. She was hysterical when she came to. When she saw us in the room, the way she screamed, I can still hear it. Why did you do this to me? Why did you lie to me? You destroyed my life. They had to sedate her. My wife broke down. I couldn't say a word. My son wanted to hit Jared right there in the hallway. He held back, barely. Jared tried to explain that it was a mistake, the cheating, the truth slipping out, but it didn't matter anymore. He said he didn't mean to hurt her, that it wasn't supposed to go this way. But it did. And now our daughter, pregnant, heartbroken, betrayed, is barely speaking to any of us. The truth is out. The damage is done. And I don't know if there's any way back from this. Update 5. You're disgusting. Alton was a better man. Angie finally woke up, and it was like staring into the eyes of someone who'd been shattered by the people she trusted most. She was weak, still recovering, but her voice was steady when she looked at us and asked the question we'd all been avoiding. Why did you do it? There was no use hiding anymore. I told her the truth, that I never liked Alton, that I saw him as soft, naive, not the kind of man I wanted for my daughter. I admitted that we slowly poisoned her against him, pushing doubts into her mind over time. I told her we just wanted what was best for her. She didn't cry at first, she just stared. Then, her voice trembling with pain, she said, "You're disgusting. All of you." When her mother tried to comfort her, she pulled her hand back, recoiling like she'd been burned. And then came the part that cut deeper than anything we expected. Alton was a better man than Jared ever could be. He loved me. He cared for me. And you replaced him with someone who cheated on me. There was nothing we could say. No defense left to offer. She called the nurse and with tears in her eyes, told her clearly, "They are not allowed to see me again. I don't want them near me. We tried to protest, pleaded with the nurse, even asked to speak with the doctor, but he shut it down quickly. If you continue to stress her out, we will involve security. She's made her wishes clear. We had no choice but to leave. Outside the hospital, the tension boiled over. We confronted Jared. My wife sobbed, accusing him of betrayal. We had trusted him, believed he was the better choice, that he was the future we wanted for our daughter. He looked at us, almost amused, and said, "I'm not perfect, but I'm not the one who ruined my own daughter's life because of pride." And then he walked away. Now, all we can do is wait. We've reached out to relatives, asking them to intervene to help us talk to Angie, to at least let us see her again. We're desperate for a chance to explain ourselves, to apologize, to make things right. But deep down, I fear that chance may never come. Update 6. She cut everyone off. It's over. Not just between Angie and Jared, but between Angie and all of us. After she was discharged, she didn't go back home. Instead, she went straight to a friend's place, cut off her phone, and only reached out to a select few friends who had stood by her before all this. Whenever anyone from family tried to reach out, even the ones we asked to speak to her on our behalf, she only asked them one thing: "Were you involved?" Some tried to deflect, claiming they didn't know everything. But she pressed, and eventually they admitted the truth, that they had known, or at least enabled it, or had stayed silent when they shouldn't have. That was it for her. Once they confirmed it, she cut them off immediately. She didn't scream, she didn't curse. She just removed them from her life, her contacts, her future. Her old friends, the ones who hadn't been involved, were furious when they found out what we did. They rallied around her, helped her find a lawyer. With their support, she secured her finances, locked down the accounts, and filed legal paperwork that left Jared with nothing. Jared was kicked out of the house within a week. He moved in with his mistress, but that didn't last. The scandal caught up with him. Her friends didn't keep the story quiet, and the woman left him shortly after. He's been trying to crawl his way back, but Angie won't even acknowledge him anymore. We tried speaking to a lawyer, hoping to mediate something, anything, but given her condition and the psychological damage this has caused, the legal counsel told us plainly, the court will not be kind to you, especially with her mental health and high-risk pregnancy involved. So we've relented, for now. Even her brother, who had been part of it all, broke down. He and Angie used to be close. Now she won't speak to him either. He told us he feels sick over what he did. He thought we were right. He trusted us. And now he can't even look her in the eyes. He and his wife have talked about one desperate option: finding Alton. Maybe he's the only one she'd listen to. Maybe he's the one person who can help her through what's left of this. But we don't know where he is. He vanished after the divorce. We only know he's working in another city at a restaurant somewhere. No address, no contact, and Angie isn't saying anything. There's less than a month left before her due date. We don't know what will happen. We don't know if we'll be there when our grandchild is born. We only know that we've lost her, and it might be permanent. Update 7. A baby, a restraining order, and a Michelin star. It's been months since Angie gave birth to her daughter, a beautiful, healthy baby girl. We haven't seen her, not once, and we probably never will. After everything that happened, Jared's cheating, our part in sabotaging her marriage with Alton, the hospital breakdown, the court didn't hesitate. When the judge heard the full story, including Jared's infidelity and our direct involvement in manipulating her first marriage, they granted a full restraining order against us. No contact, no visits, no rights. My wife cried harder than I've ever seen her. She was distraught, holding on to the hope that Angie would eventually forgive us. But that hope is gone now. Angie's cut us out of her life completely. And we can't even blame her. Jared tried crawling back, of course. He called, tried to reason with her, but she shut him down. Firm, cold, unapologetic. Now even his job is on the rocks. Word spread. His mistress left him as soon as the scandal hit. His co-workers turned their backs. Apparently he's hanging by a thread at work, and everyone knows it. Our son, the only one who still had any chance of reaching Angie, tried something unexpected. He went looking for Alton. And to our shock, he found him. Alton now runs a Michelin-starred restaurant in a major city. Quiet, refined, and exclusive. The kind of place you have to book months in advance to get a table. The name of the restaurant wasn't even familiar to us, but apparently it's been rising in culinary circles for years. One of the staff told our son that the restaurant had actually been trying to recruit Alton for years. They'd known about his talent long before the divorce, but it was only after his marriage ended that they finally convinced him to join. He had nothing left holding him back. When Alton showed up, the staff said he was rough, depressed, hollow, a shadow of the man they'd hoped for. But their head chef took him in, mentored him, pulled him out of that dark place. Slowly, Alton found himself again through cooking, through hard work, through something real that no one could sabotage. Now, he's thriving, a respected name in the culinary world, admired, valued. Our son wanted to speak with him, wanted to tell him who he was, maybe even apologize, but he couldn't. The shame was too much. And the staff kindly told him Alton was completely booked and only took meetings by appointment. He didn't force it. He just nodded and left. Oh, and I think that was the moment the weight of it all finally settled on us. We threw away a good man, a man who loved our daughter, a man who only ever wanted to care for her. And we replaced him with someone who treated her like a convenience. Now, Angie's alone by choice. She trusts no one in the family. We're alone too by consequence. Alton found a new life. We destroyed ours. Update 8, a chance encounter and a desperate plan. It was supposed to be a regular day. My wife was out doing grocery shopping when she saw her Angie, holding her baby daughter, standing in line at a local organic store. She froze, said she didn't know what came over her, but she dropped everything and ran to her, sobbing. She begged Angie for forgiveness, for a chance to talk anything. But Angie just stood there, holding her child close, her eyes full of sadness and rage. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Her voice was cold when she spoke. "You humiliated yourself," she said. "You let your selfishness and greed ruin everything." My wife tried to explain, to say she was just trying to protect her, to give her a better life. But Angie shut it down fast. "You destroyed my happiness," she said. "You helped replace the man who loved me with a liar who used me. And for what? Status? Appearances?" Some people in the store tried to intervene, thinking it was a public argument. But Angie turned to them and asked, "What would you do if your own mother helped destroy your marriage behind your back?" They had no answer. They slowly backed off. Then she looked back at my wife and said the words that gutted her. "I don't have a mother anymore." And then came the final blow. "You're violating the restraining order. If I see you again, I'll call the police." She left, holding her daughter tight, never looking back. We later found out she's living with her best friend and her best friend's husband, both of whom are helping her recover and ensuring she and the baby are safe. Her support system is strong, ironclad. None of her friends will help us reach her. No one will pass messages. No one will deliver letters. We're completely cut off. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I'm desperate. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I pulled every connection I had. I called, I emailed, I waited weeks, and finally I secured a reservation at Alton's restaurant, a face-to-face. He doesn't know it's me yet. I'm listed under a business alias. I plan to go, to ask for help, to beg for help, not just to fix what I've broken, but because I know he's the only person left who might still reach her. The only person who ever truly loved her for who she was, not who we wanted her to be. I just hope it's not too late. Update 9, a taste of regret. The night of the reservation came. We arrived at Alton's restaurant, dressed as well as we could afford, but nothing could prepare us for what we walked into. It was stunning modern elegance with warmth. The guests were not just diners, they were celebrities, entrepreneurs, well-known internet personalities. I recognized a couple from a magazine spread laughing, enjoying themselves, full of life. I couldn't help but remember that same light in Angie's eyes, back when she looked at Alton that way, before we took it all away. The meal was indescribable. Every bite was perfect, easily the best dinner we've had in years. My wife held back tears halfway through, whispering that we were monsters forever thinking he wasn't good enough for our daughter. And she was right. When Alton finally walked out from the kitchen, he greeted guests with warmth, charm, and humility. But when his eyes landed on us, that warmth evaporated. His demeanor shifted cold, distant. The waiter quietly told us our reservation was over, that it was time to leave. I stood up and said, "Please, we came to speak with Alton." The waiter hesitated, but Alton nodded. "It's okay," he said quietly. He sat across from us, calm, composed, but unreadable. "Why are you here?" he asked flatly. I swallowed and said, "We made a terrible mistake. We came to ask if you'd come back to the family, to Angie." Alton let out a low, breathy laugh. Not amused, just tired. "Are you serious?" he asked, tilting his head. I hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." He leaned back in his chair and spoke quietly, his voice sharp. "So after you slowly poisoned my marriage, manipulated your own daughter, and pushed me out of her life, now you want to welcome me back into your family? What happened? Things didn't work out with your favorite, Jared." We stayed silent. My wife teared up. I told him the truth about how Jared cheated, how everything fell apart, how Angie's suffering and won't speak to us. I apologized. We both did. He shook his head in disbelief. "She has a child with the man who destroyed our marriage, and now you're here begging me to take her back? Are you people delusional?" There was no yelling, just disgust, quiet, controlled disgust, but it hit harder than anything else could have. "We were wrong," I said again, barely holding it together. "Please, she's hurting." Before he could answer, a woman in a chef's uniform approached. She was tall, confident, there was flour on her apron, and she still looked elegant. "Is everything okay?" she asked gently. Alton looked at her, then back at us. "These are my former in-laws. They helped destroy my marriage." She turned to us and said firmly, "I'm his fiancé, and I won't let anyone sell him out again." Alton stood. "Please leave," he said. "I don't want your apologies. I don't want your money. In fact," he turned to a staff member, "reverse their payment. I want no trace of them in my books." We were stunned, humiliated, and completely, utterly defeated. As we walked out of the restaurant, people looked not with curiosity, but with quiet judgment, like they already knew what we had done. We came looking for redemption. Instead, we got exactly what we deserved. Final update. It's been months since we sat at Alton's restaurant, months since he looked at us like strangers, or worse, like the villains in his story, because we were. I remember sitting at that table, watching my wife quietly cry over a plate of food that might have been the best thing we've ever tasted, and yet neither of us could enjoy it. I thought maybe, just maybe, Alton would have it in his heart to forgive us, to save us. But he didn't, and he shouldn't have. After that night, we tried everything: letters, calls, messages passed through relatives. Nothing. He refused to speak to us. Our son even went there in person, thinking maybe he'd have better luck. But Alton wouldn't see him either. No matter how much we begged or how far we bent, the door stayed closed. And Angie, she disappeared. She left town quietly, told no one except a handful of friends where she was going. All we know is that she's in another city now, raising her daughter, our granddaughter, alone. We've never met her. The only glimpse we've had was a single photo sent anonymously. I don't even know who gave it to us, but we look at it more often than we should, like it could somehow replace what we've lost. The restraining order expired, yes, but we haven't gone near her. We're too ashamed, too afraid. One of Angie's friends ran into us once and made it brutally clear we were never to approach her again. We were not welcome in her life, not after what we did. Sometimes I ask myself how it all came to this. I know the answer, of course. We couldn't stand Alton. We thought he was too soft, too naive. We thought Angie deserved someone better, someone stronger. We thought Jared was that man. We destroyed her marriage because of those thoughts. And now Jared's out of a job, working deliveries, barely making ends meet. He's paying child support but made it clear he doesn't want anything to do with his daughter. He even tried to smear Angie's name, said vile things about her. Her brother found him. I don't know exactly what happened after, but Jared's been quiet ever since. I sometimes hear whispers from those who still know her, that Angie walks through the park with her daughter in a stroller, that sometimes she cries when she thinks no one's watching. I wonder if she ever reached out to Alton. I wonder if she's still carrying the weight of what we did, what we let happen. We sit in silence now, my wife and I, at the same dinner table where we once had a family, where we made our greatest mistake. Our son barely talks to us. Our daughter left because of us. The family we thought we were protecting, we destroyed it with our own pride and guilt. We wanted a perfect life. Instead, we're left with an empty table and a photo of a child we may never get to know. Let me know if you'd like to follow Angie's quiet new life, Alton's journey beyond them, or read a confession letter from the father to Angie.
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.